And welcome, everybody, inside Marine Midland Arena here in Buffalo, New York, for the championship game of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference as Championship Week, presented by 7-Up continues. Here's how they got here. St. Peter's, the number 5 seed, with a couple of upsets, including number 1 Niagara in the semis. Siena squeaked by number 6 Marist in their semi, winning by only 1 point. Hi, everybody. Dan Shulman and Bill Raftery with you, and this should be a good one. It's been a very competitive and entertaining conference tournament to this point, and like many of the games played in this tournament, it may be the play of the guards that decides who wins.
Well, they run the show, and Melvin Freeney's a guy for Siena that's going to have to pass. He's given up the basketball beautifully, solid, and, of course, Hunter, the ability of Jamar to score, likes big shots. There'd be a great matchup to watch. They've got to be fatigue's a problem.
Yes.
They got to be ready to go.
Third game in 3 days for each team, and Dick Vitale here in spirit in Buffalo. St. Peter's trying to become the ultimate Cinderella story here in the MAAC. That's with 2 A's. Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. The starting lineups brought to you by Nike, beginning with St. Peter's head coach Roger Blind and Kamal McQueen. 6'5", 270, the ultimate space eater inside. When he gets good position down low, he is pretty much automatic from in tight. For Siena, the heavy favorite, a 24-5 record on the season. Marcus Faison, a first-team All-MAAC performer for the second year in a row. A 6'5 guard. He's going to present some matchup problems for St. Peter's. St. Peter's has a 3-guard look with a couple of big guys inside. Siena has a lot more versatility, a lot more players who can step out, play on the wing. A real contrast in style. One thing we do know, Siena, Billy's going to try and get up and down the floor. They're the 3rd highest scoring team in the country this year. And
the big concern, I think, for St. Peter's, they play a lot of people. They change the looks. They play a lot of defense as well, Siena.
Siena, by virtue of being the higher seed, is in white tonight, but it'll be St. Peter's to control the tip. Again, 3 guards, but no true point guard with the ball, number 4, Khalif Allen.
And Siena goes, Dan Shulman.
Let's keep an eye on Hunter with 53 points in the first 2 games. Here he is, number 23. Kick it inside, trying to get position is Jake Holmes. He has it taken away. And a quick foul is called. Good noise here in the building, mostly by the Siena fans, drowning out the whistle early.
You think there was enough help down there? Freeney with the swipe.
Roger Blind, the head coach at St. Peter's. They started 0-5 and will be listening to Roger Blind, in addition to looking at him through the night. And Paul Hewitt, off to an outstanding start, just his second year at Siena. Already you start to hear his name popping up when some bigger conference positions come open.
And, of course, the AD at Siena, a little concerned all the time, but he said it's a nice position to be in, John DiArgentino.
Dave Dieters leaves the jumper short. And a block is called on Dieters.
We had a little time earlier today with DiArgentino. Let me get that name right. And John was saying that it's a nice position for them to be in. People come and talking to Paul, but they hate to lose people of that caliber.
Mike Dean, formerly with Siena, went on to Marquette. This conference has sent a number of coaches on to bigger things, if you will. Tim Welsh, Steve Lapis. Ricky Bellinger with a jumper, and St. Peter's draws first blood.
Frank Priscilla.
That's right. Bellinger, the leading scorer for the Peacocks during the regular season at 16 points per game. Nice work by Corey Osinski. Cut off, though. It'll be Jim Cantonese that missed the 3, the nation's leading 3-point shooter a year ago. He has struggled in this tournament.
And shoots about 42%. That's not a bad struggle during the course of the year. I mean, that's how they hurt you, scraping and kicking back for 3s.
56% last year. Remarkable from 3-point range. 2-point shot drops for Hunter, his first bucket of the night. And St. Peter's, yeah, they're the underdog, but they're not backing down from anybody. Marcus Faison drives to the hoop and scores.
So I think they're just to make sure somebody isn't hurt. Hunter making a big goal at the other end. Unfortunately, Khalif Allen hurt and going out of the game. They are lean to begin with. Dan, this is not going to be an easy time. Roger Blind, it's a puzzle with all the numbers thrown at him by Siena.
Damian Spencer, number 44, is coming to replace Allen, is at the end of the bench holding his back. Spencer at 6'4", a good defender. Here's McQueen left open, and the big guy can't drop the jumper.
Kamal, that's going to be interesting to watch him during the course of the game.
Osinski from outside. If you play on Siena, you learn how to shoot the 3. Damian Spencer with a wise decision to pull it out.
Good job defensively by Siena. I think St. Peter's going to have to be patient, use some clock. Roger Fields, take good shots. Make sure you balance the floor.
The higher scoring this game is, the more likely it is to favor Siena. Hunter from outside, not this time.
But when you take good shots, everybody's back. That's all you have to do. And step up on the early three. The flex cut on the bottom by Ozinski. They run a lot of stuff. Dieters.
I think Roger Blind wouldn't mind seeing that shot. It's the second time that Dieters has taken a shot from just inside the arc. Another foul goes against the Saints.
I think Freeney may have gotten involved in one. I think it was an elbow. He was showing the trainer earlier. But here is the outside recognition, the giveaway on the rebound. And everybody's going to have to rebound for St. Peter's. Just don't have the size. Alan Steele hurting over there on the sideline, isn't he?
That could be a big loss. They might only go 7 or 8 deep. Spencer, the lefty, misses the runner. The rebound to Cantamesa. Some new faces now for Siena. That's Scott Knapp off for Dwayne Archbold. Both guys just off the bench.
I love the two. You don't want to let Knapp shoot him the giveaway. Cantamesa, not a good foul. But Knapp, one of those guys that can really bang him down. Doesn't need much room.
Cantamesa, his first, already the 4th team foul committed by the Saints. And now another new face as well. Brandon Fields, a 6'6 senior from Houston, takes the place of Cantamesa. We may see 10, 11, 12 players for Siena tonight. They like to press, they like to run, and they'll use a lot of bodies.
And Roger was concerned about how they handle the press. I think they're going to have to go over the top of these traps. Nice deflection here. And not bad hands by Dan Schulman.
It's as active as I've been in a while.
You never were good on loose balls.
No, that's true.
More of a stand-up jump shooter.
Hitting the floor, not big. Spencer will be used to help handle, especially with Allen out of the game. 3 or 4 different guys can help St. Peter's against the pressure they expect to see from Siena.
Nice side pick and roll.
Pull-up jumper drops, and it continues to be a very good tournament for Jamar Hunter.
2 of 3 from deep, but a nice screen by the big guy Holmes.
Siena, Billy, starting cold, just 1 of 7 to make it 1 of 8 from the floor in the first 3.5 minutes.
Oh, they like to jack it up, no question, and run after it.
Bellinger.
Good follow.
Doesn't drop. McQueen again. 2 good chances. Still keeping it alive. Kamal McQueen has missed 3 in close on this possession, and finally a foul goes against Bellinger of St. Peter's.
Well, that's the kind of activity they would like on the glass. Getting free, very important. Hunter, a guy for them on a little side pick and roll. The big guy opens, takes care of a little business, and then gets himself to the rim in case there's a follow. But Hunter, a couple of open looks and pure early.
Prior to this tournament, Jamar Hunter in his career had scored more than 25 points once. He's done it twice in 2 games in this tournament. Well, 2 more invitations to March Madness are going to be handed out tomorrow night, and ESPN is going to be there as Championship Week presented by 7-Up continues. First, out of the Midwestern Collegiate Conference, it'll be Butler against Detroit, followed by the Sun Belt Championship, Western Kentucky and Arkansas State. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com.
And that replay by Hunter, you think of Joe Mahalik at Niagara. We read in the paper they thought it was 30 feet. Boy, well, it felt like half court for Joe. More on Niagara in a moment.
Knapp gets the shot up. Now 1 for 9 are the Saints from the floor and running. St. Peter's. Hunter, though, threw it away. Now a chance for Siena to get on the move. Archbold kicks it out. Cantamesa, no.
Hustling for the loose balls on long shooters, so important. Got to come up with them.
Timeout on the floor with St. Peter's, the big underdog, leading Siena 7-2 early with a trip to the NCAAs on the line in Buffalo. Championship week continues here in Buffalo. Larry, St. Peter's leading Siena by 5. Siena's got most of the hometown support, with a lot of folks making the trip from Albany to Buffalo. And when St. Peter's knocked Niagara out, well, Niagara obviously, and along with Canisius, were the 2 hometown favorites, and St. Peter's knocked them both out here in this tournament, so they're public enemy number 1 as Brandon Fields uses his strength, turns and scores.
That's what they had to do. They've been settling for the deep one, get their inside game, get some touches down underneath. Tell you, if Niagara had won, the honeymooners would have nobody to greet them up there this evening. Joe Mahalik, nice enough to come to the game. And when you're not shooting well, I guess you can't throw it in the fall versus the ocean.
Nice local touch, Mr. Rafter. Khalif Allen back in the game, but wincing. Still favoring, I guess, that back that appeared to have been injured earlier. Tough shot for Bellinger. He will not get the roll, and then over the back goes Rich Brown, 6'7" senior from the Bronx, who has entered the game off the bench. Isaiah Stewart also into the game for Siena. Both teams pretty heavily into their benches early.
I mentioned that Niagara just in closing their hope, and I think a lot of people feel they, having won the regular season, might get that invite to the NIT. I hope they do. They've worked very hard. Get one of their own back to town there in Young.
17-12 on the season, and Alvin Young, the leading scorer in the country at an angle.
That'll be a nice angle for them. The reach in and the nickel dimer. The ability to guard in the post area in art for some teams, and you can just see Roger Blinn, who's all coach, by the way. I've known him as an assistant coach in high school, head coach. And Paul Hewitt, of course, we mentioned how people respect the job he's done and a lot of interest in him.
Dwayne Archbold, outstanding freshman for Siena, a member of the All-MAAC rookie team, drops it in, and the Saints are back within one.
And they light up when they talk about him, and the pressure causes the timeout. Smart play. You don't want to turn it over. McQueen, the inbounder. And what a delight. You watched them handle the basketball against the press.
Get in the tandem, all right? Hold it. You handle. Get in the tandem, all right? Run Chicago. Big guys, slip the screen right away. Wing guys, get to the middle of the floor, see what your options are. Guard going through. Look for that guard coming out on the same side. Let's go. Let's go. Win. 1, 2, 3.
Well, Coach, they spent most of the morning at shoot-around today working on the pressure. What does Roger Blinn want him to do?
Well, the tandem, he said, that's on the screen up. One steps to the ball, and the other man cuts away. And here's the tandem and the sprint by the top man, so they never got the screen in it.
And something different, you'll see 270-pound Kamal McQueen helping out to break the pressure. An outstanding decision-maker and a great passer.
Now, he did that in high school.
Yes.
Against St. Anthony's in Madison Square Garden against one of Bobby Hurley's great teams. So Bobby Oliva used it there. And, of course, Roger Blinn, having seen him, knows his capabilities in that category.
They beat the pressure, then they turn it over in the half-court offense, and Siena with a chance to take its first lead of the night.
You can see how Paul wants to go inside a little bit. They're jacking up the deep one. Good cut here. Nice block.
Osinski has it knocked away by Jake Holmes, and Allen starts the Peacocks back. Bellinger with a pull-up, way strong. And the second chances that St. Peter's got early on the glass have dried up now, but Siena throws it away.
And Holmes with the hustle down the floor, a little body banging caused the turnover. And defensively stepping up. Very impressive as Siena just got away from their earlier philosophy of getting it inside. Knapp with the step through. All of a sudden you think you got an easy one. Get out of town.
Holmes with a couple of outstanding games in the regular season against Siena, in spite of the fact that St. Peter's lost both. Holmes had double-doubles each time and a total of 31 rebounds in the 2 games. They'll get out on a Hunter. He's made a couple of jumpers already.
And they'll take advantage of that early fast break. So Bellinger take that shot before. Other than that, they'll be patient and pride.
Double team on McQueen. Swing it around to Bellinger. Bellinger can penetrate. Nothing dropping, though, for St. Peter's. A foul on the floor is going to go against the Saints.
Bellinger, one of those guys that can take it with the dribble, and Roger Blinn feels he's matured as a player, creates for this team now, better shot selection.
Scott Knapp's going to check back in. That is the second on Melvin Freeney, starting point guard. Into the 2-3 zone.
Turn and kick opposite. Good look.
Hunter for 3. And he has started off cold, although it should be pointed out he's exploded in the second half of each previous game. Osinski is called for the offensive foul. Hunter got back and took the charge. What do you think?
Goodness, Dan. We would argue about that one.
I think
a little late, a little deep, and a slide by. Good step in. A slide by Osinski right here. Nice decision by Knapp. Now, folks, this is just a little powder puff. Pardon me. I didn't mean to brush your foul.
Turn it back over. St. Peter's breaks the pressure. They've still got a 1-point lead in what's been an extremely low-scoring first 7 minutes regular season, these guys got up and down the floor as Hunter gets to the basket, and he's got 6 of St. Peter's 9.
With alacrity. Oh, what a burst. Really strong man-to-man principles.
St. Peter's just 14 and 14 on the season. Started the year 0 and 5. Marcus facing the back in, misses the 3. Good rebound underneath by Osinski. He's added a lot of weight this year, and as a result, has done a lot of better work inside. Has it taken away, though, by Bellinger, and it'll be a block.
He put his hands in. That's what hurt him. But look at the foot speed. Mention the maturity. Take advantage of your skill level. Open floor. He is outstanding. That's Roger Blind's comment. Look at this blow by, Dan. Pick up the lingerie, folks. The wind is blowing. So a little struggle there with the hands by Knapp, trying to induce the officials for the foul. Once he reached in, he was dead.
Well, Roger Blind told us Ricky Bellinger can get to the bucket as well as any player in the conference. He's a 75% shooter from the line. Brandon Fields back in for Siena. Rich Brown gives Kamal McQueen a bit of a break.
Say the tradition of St. Peter's, I grew up in that area, and you think of Don Kennedy, all he did. I'm thinking back to the 68 NIT with Tom McMahon, Lecky, Laurie, Leonardo Webster. I mean, unbelievable talent. Coaches there with Joe Palermo, my high school coach, Bernie Keene. You move up, and Teddy Fiore, of course, before Roger, very successful. And a lot of those man-to-man principles, I think, although Roger being from that area, little quick jack again.
Knapp misses the 3. Hunter the save. Allen has come back in to replace Bellinger. Hunter and Bellinger have all 11 of the St. Peter's points. Hunter 7 and Bellinger 4. And that's not a huge surprise. They are their 2 leading scorers and have scored better than half their points in this tournament. Siena just ice cold for a team that averages 87 points per game. They just can't get anything going.
Play up on the shooters. And here's a nice job getting it inside, getting the easy look. I mean, that's pretty darn good basketball. Rich Brown able to finish. But just finishing the thought, being from New Jersey, Alabama has a strain all through the man-to-man principles. Teddy Fiore, a disciple of his, and of course Roger coaching of the Teddy. So you can see the influence here. Everybody stays at home, not a lot of gambling. Play the 3-point line and in.
Fields with good position. Gets it over Holmes, a 6'6 guy scoring over a 6'11 guy, and Fields brings Siena back within 5.
Nice footwork too, a little step through, froze the big guy.
Now with McQueen out of the game, Spencer's going to bring it over himself. Unselfish basketball, and Khalif Allen the finish. St. Peter's not looking intimidated at all by playing a Siena team which won 24 games during the regular season against only 5 losses.
And that's one of those opportunity breaks that they'll take advantage of.
Jake Holmes has picked up a foul, his second, and that could be problematic for the Peacocks, who don't have a lot of bulk. They need their big guys on the floor. Playing well right now, breaking the pressure and getting some nice easy looks. The underdog Peacocks lead by 7. Welcome back to Buffalo, where St. Peter's leads Siena 15-8 midway through the first half of the championship game here in the MAAC. Tonight on ESPN2, it is the Northeast Conference Championship featuring Mount St. Mary's in Central Connecticut beginning at 9:30 Eastern Time. Another NCAA bid on the line. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network. Go.com, as Larry Beal told you a little bit earlier, 6 teams already in. 4 more bids will be awarded tonight, including this one here in Buffalo. And there's another foul inside. This one on Rich Brown. Jake Holmes, 6'11 center, is on the bench with 2 fouls. Not a lot of depth inside for St. Peter's. They got to watch it with the fouls.
And that's a big problem. Roger Blind furious there because they walked through this, as you recall this morning, that duck in the 3-second, and they weren't prepared and got the foul. Changes things with both the big guys with foul problems now. Rodney Rogers now comes in.
16 fouls aside. Siena ice cold, 4 of 17 from the floor, including 0 of 7 from 3-point range. There's Mason, left open, and hits.
He was shocked. He was shocked, Dan. A little pump, a little jab step there. Nobody attracted.
Mason with 4. Now the pressure becoming a factor as well.
They got a timeout. I guess Rogers the one, called it in the backside. near Mike Kitts. The press can be relentless, and it's a difficult inbound situation at times, and then the sideline usage by Siena. I mean, that's what you like about Paul's team. I think they have a lot of spice in their game. 2-2-1, they have a half-court trap, play man-to-man full, they run and jump at you a little bit and rotate.
Be sure to join us Sunday as State Farm presents the NCAA Women's Selection Special, beginning at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific, here on ESPN, followed later by the whole gang, Chris Fowler, Dick Vitale, Digger Phelps, and Jay Billis for the Men's NCAA Selection Special. That'll get started at 6:30 Eastern Time Sunday. All the baskets, all the teams, all on ESPN.
Oh, what a perfect trap spot here. Oh, this is say goodnight.
Oh, he got out of it.
He sure did.
Allen
Barely
got out of it. Spencer, super sub for St. Peter's, into the game, kicks it down low, and a nice move underneath to draw the foul. As we see St. Peter's going inside a little bit more.
And the shot selection is Rogers got right to the rim there. And they have to be sure they get good opportunities, because this run out by Siena can be relentless and wear you down, plus fatigue. And I think that's one thing Paul Hewitt knows. He keeps running and subbing, and maybe it'll wear down the psyche in the second half.
At the line, Rodney Rogers. Played with Tim Thomas at Patterson Catholic. And Paul Hewitt, the head coach of Siena, used to be an assistant at Villanova. So Hewitt got to know Rogers, and even though Rogers is on the other side tonight, Hewitt says Rogers still calls him Uncle Paul. He knows him from his days as an assistant coach at Nova.
My kids used to say uncle, but for a different reason. It's amazing how many teammates Timmy Thomas has had.
Yes,
every place we go. It's the law. I think they count freshmen and JV as well. And there's the supply. That's something that you think of the bench support, though. Siena does get a lot, and I think at the end of the game, we'll forward graphic up. The bench scoring will be surpassed by Siena.
All 4 of those points by starters belong to Marcus Faison, number 22, who's inbounding it. Dieters, a starter, is out there as well, but the bench well represented with Archbold on the floor and Knapp. Here's Contamesa.
And they're harassing the passer, too, making it a tough entry.
Knapp spins baseline, and he travels.
And good support there defensively. And move the feet. We mentioned about Rogers' ability to teach man-to-man. Allen in great position.
St. Peter's, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, picked for a tie for 9th in the conference preseason. That's an offensive foul as Rogers used that off arm to kind of hook around his man.
Well, he had his guy beat as well, too. You mentioned the 9th place pick. I mean, what an extraordinary job by these players. They didn't believe you. That one was easy, huh? A little telltale. You've got to conceal it. Never make a life a crime on that one, huh? Too revealing.
Not only did St. Peter's lose their first 5 games this year, they had lost their last 10 last year. They were on a 15-game losing streak. Peters with his 3rd jumper from up there. None of them have really been close. Faison with the putback. He's got 6.
I admire the administration for hanging in with Roger, too. You know, a situation like that, easy for a president, Father James Coughlin. A friend of mine, Freddie Cranwell, works there. And, you know, this is great for the school, I think. And a few years ago when it happened, just it binds the community. Everybody, hopefully it'll help development and admissions.
Dan Shulman and Bill Raftery with you in Buffalo as Championship Week presented by 7-Up continues. This is the championship game in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. The number 5 seed, St. Peter's, 14-14 on the season, the Cinderella of the conference. The number 2 seed, Siena in white, a 24-win team. And there is Scott Knapp, a 6'3 sophomore from Sherrill, New York, burying Siena's first 3 of the night, and all of a sudden it's a 1-point game.
And that's the pressure they put on you. You can't nap when he's out there. They got a lot of people that are going to put you away. You got to stay home on Scott.
Saints starting to show St. Peter's some different looks on defense as well.
Now they trapped it, and here's a little 1-3-1 look. Not a good entry.
Decent idea, but a poor execution. Knapp, they leave him alone.
Well, they dodged one there. Oh, goodness. Never leave the dribbler.
He's a 42% shooter from 3-point range. There's Bellinger to the bucket, and what a follow by Kamal McQueen.
Speed. Agility. I mean, he is impressive.
And soft hands. At the other end, the answer by Cantamesa. And now this is the type of game we expect to see.
Well, St. Peter's can't afford to keep going up and down, though, I don't think. You got to pull the plug.
Bellinger, he's made a couple of tough moves, and Roger Blind wants him to let the game come to him. Followed by McQueen, no good, and then he slaps it out of bounds and back over to the Saints.
And you notice Paul Hewitt on every dead ball is putting people in, and Roger's trying to match it as short as his bench is.
The game is getting too fast.
There it is. There it is. Back-to-back trips, very quick shots.
He's a cardiologist. The pulse is too rapid.
That's right. And as you said, a lot of new bodies for Siena. Fields back in, Freeney back in with 2 fouls, Osinski back in. Baseline, nice move by Corey Osinski, the kind of move that he probably wouldn't have made a year ago, but with that added strength this year, he's gone inside a lot more.
And he used the arm, but legally. Good, quick feet.
Second team all MAAC performer, Siena with a 1-point lead, 12.5 minutes in.
A lot of communicating in this 1-3-1. Almost shaped like a 2-3 at this juncture.
Bellinger more of a scorer, Hunter more of a shooter. McQueen looking for post position, but can't find it.
Nice read by Kanamesa. He had helped and then drew back where the opponents were.
Freeney, here's Kanamesa at the other end. And great elevation by Khalif Allen. Now numbers for St. Peter's 3-on-1. And they can't finish. We do have a foul against Siena, I believe. It looks like Condamesa, but St. Peter's, Billy, letting some easy chances get away from it.
They pointed at half court. You want a score. You can see the hand up, the ability to catch the errant toss, really. You just want to do. So, I mean, all they do is get it to him. You don't have to be a little showy. Just get it done.
Number 2 on Condamesa. He goes out of the game. Also a bonus situation now for St. Peter's at the line. Rich Brown, 64% shooter on the season, misses the front end. St. Peter's can ill afford to let transition opportunities and free throw opportunities get away from them.
Nice kick.
Archbold with a pull up from the elbow.
Push. Good call.
And now the foul is starting to pile up a little bit on Siena, although they have a much deeper team.
Will they give it to Fields?
Number 1 on
The
Fields.
game is getting too fast. If they go zone, shooters stay. You get on the baseline. Put Damian and Ricky out top. Hurry up, hurry up.
Still trying to remind his players the game is getting too fast. Under no conditions can St. Peter's afford to run with Siena all night long.
You know what I love about Roger? You know how you have a player that's a gym rat? He's a gym rat. As a coach, as an adult. His wife attends all the games. I think she's doing sort of a pictorial display for the team as well. And he sticks the tapes in. She takes care of her business. He watches games.
Another free throw miss, this time by McQueen. And a great explosion to the hoop by Melvin Freeney, the senior from Gainesville, Florida, gives Siena a 3-point lead.
And then everybody runs the floor. It opens up for the dribble penetration.
Again, the big guy, McQueen, helping out Hunter to break the pressure.
The one thing this zone does, slows St. Peter's down. If they kick it around and pry.
Tough pass inside, and Rich Brown with a finish, 1-point game. Brown's going to get some minutes with Holmes picking up a couple of early fouls.
Great look by Bellinger.
Fields at the other end. Check that, James Clinton, a 6'9" freshman from Richland, New Jersey, and Siena's up 3.
Got to get
picked it up in a tough spot.
Got to get to the foul line for him. Loses deflection.
Yep. Kickball, fresh 35 with a 5:51 to play in the half. And a timeout on the floor. Siena has picked up the pace and taken a 3-point lead here in Buffalo. Back in Buffalo for the MAAC championship, the Saints of Siena leading St. Peter's by 3 with 5:51 to play in the first half. Coming up at halftime on the 7-Up halftime report. We'll send you back to the studio. Larry Beal and Digger Phelps will preview the Big East Championship, which you and I will be proud to be a part of in the next few days, and also the Missouri Valley Conference Championship. Evansville and Creighton, an outstanding year for that conference, hoping for multiple bids to the NCAA.
Our man Tom Archer's down there warming up the streets of Manhattan, getting ready for our arrival on Wednesday. Hopefully he'll be in good form. It's an exciting time of year.
Yeah, it is.
Staying with the zone.
Spencer Nowhere to go, and they can't find space inside for McQueen, which they did in yesterday's semifinal against Niagara. But Siena's got more and bigger bodies. Hunter for three.
Settling deep, but he does not settle. He is ringing the bell. What confidence. And remember what the coach said. Loves big shots.
Archbold baseline, a little out of control. Loose ball. Hunter, pretty it alive. And Brown dribbled it off his knee out of bounds. But what an effort by Jamar Hunter.
Squeeze the ball. Oh. Well, you know what it's worth. It's worth a spot in the 64.
Right.
The step in on the charge. And maybe a pretty good non-call. But the hustle, the ensuing effort. You do it on the offensive end. For Roger Blinn, you got to do it on both ends. And just right here, this squeeze. Oh, you got to grab it.
For Siena, there's some discussion that even if they lose tonight, they might get an at-large bid. There's an easy one for Osinski.
He was at large there. Yes. Nobody on him.
Without question, even a Siena loss, at worst, they would go to the NIT. But for St. Peter's, it's clear. They win, they go to the NCAA. They lose, they're done. And Hunter is a senior. Maybe that's one of the reasons he's playing the best basketball of his life.
Well, Rich Answer, the commissioner, has a great power of persuasion. I don't think he'll be able to talk to them. Even if St. Peter's, as well as they may have done in this tournament, it'll be tough. So they know what it's essential that they do well tonight.
Again, trying to look inside, and Marcus Faison picks it off. 3-on-2. Still belongs to the Saints, who since joining the MAAC have never won the conference tournament. Dave Dieter's back in, Dwayne Archbold in as well. Sitting down is James Clinton, Brandon Fields. Osinski goes out. 2-3 changes on just about every whistle as Contamesa comes in.
And it's relentless, too, and the fatigue factor, as noted. One quick mention for the building here. Ron Berdovich, Executive VP. They do a great job here.
Beautiful building.
Oh, it's very impressive. You had talked about it.
Knapp with a tough pass. They alternated between here and Albany for the conference tournament, and next year going to be a regional here in the NCAA tournament at the Marine Midland Arena.
Maybe you'll have some influence and get some seats. Not far from home. Paul Hewitt hoping that his club starts making a few deep ones so they can get that press set. I think it's a problem for St. Peter's early here. Something they'll have to rectify at halftime. How to handle the full court pressure.
They've got Jake Holmes back in there with 2 fouls. He was on the bench a good 6-7 minutes. Turnaround jump hook. No good by Dieters, who's cold from the field. And now another injury underneath the basket.
Marcus Faison just swiped at the ball and eventually brushed the eyes.
It is Ricky Bellinger.
Now, this is one of those inadvertent things that happen in basketball. You can see just trying to slap the ball.
He'll get a timeout, hopefully, to recuperate and get back into the game. Siena hoping to prepare for the NCAA. Got a battle here with St. Peter's tonight. Ricky Bellinger's left eye showing the effects of that swipe from Marcus Faison. Looks like he's going to sit out for a little while. St. Peter's down only 2 to Siena. A couple more games to come tonight on ESPN. First, it's the Missouri Valley Conference Championship. Creighton and Evansville. Been a very good year for the MVC. And then at midnight tonight, Santa Clara and Gonzaga will decide the West Coast Conference Championship. Championship week presented by 7-Up. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, go.com. And this game, the Gonzaga game, one that all the bubble teams are looking at it because a Siena loss, a Gonzaga loss, and maybe they still get an at-large, and that takes a spot away from everybody else.
A lot of people feel Gonzaga will get it. Santa Clara, very impressive, huh? Getting to the championship round. Good, that's the spot. Now turn and look opposite.
Allen, a baseline, and there is where McQueen wants to be. If you get him the ball in the paint, forget about it.
That's a large piece of real estate eaten up by the big body. Nice look.
McQueen with 4, had 20 in the semifinal win over Niagara yesterday to go with 8 rebounds.
And Holmes knows you got to stay up on Knapp. He's at a disadvantage here.
Yeah, got some mismatches. Got a 6'11 center on the great three-point shooter outside. Knapp will take advantage.
Oh, goodness. Did they read that? And then Roger saying switch. Holmes, nobody came. He's looking for the assistance, the communication.
More pressure. Spencer gets it over. Allen with a tough catch. Now St. Peter's with a try at a 3. Not this time for Hunter, but Holmes the rebound.
Nice job.
Trying to slow down the pace. It was out of control for a little while, favoring Siena, but St. Peter's has gotten a harness on this one.
Straight up man-to-man now. There's a couple of trips. Good hands.
Spencer. And a hold.
I'm not sure they got it. It may be Dwayne Archibald.
And just number 1 on Archibald, but the 10th team foul committed by the Saints. So Spencer gets a couple of free throws.
The concern I think I would have had is condemnation was in the mix too with a dribble penetration. Your offense bogs down, get into the lane.
Not a good job of the line.
My early days at Seton Hall, we played Siena. Bill Kirsch was the coach. I had a gorgeous suit on. I was ready for the prom. Bill's kids came down, whooped this little egg in my face. And of course, Mike Dean. I can remember Mike bringing the club up for the Measles Bowl on ESPN. One of the players had measles. They had to empty the gym. They played the game, but everybody out of the gym.
Really?
Jay Rothman and Chip Dean put faces in the seats just to give it a warm feeling. Our producer and director. So some history. Siena down in Greensboro a few years ago.
I tell you, they brought some pretty tough customers with them here to Buffalo. Their fans are not kind to the opposition. They really let them have it.
No, and some of them exposing themselves.
Yes,
a lot of letters on the chest.
Never a good thing. Here's McQueen. The double team comes. Baseline, Spencer. McQueen just throwing it up off the glass.
He's got to kick it back out. He's a little winded, too, coming back and forth.
At 6'5", 270. St. Peter's also hurting themselves from the line, just 3 of 8. They've missed the front end of a couple of one-and-ones, and Spencer missed 2 his last trip.
And I know Siena likes quick hitters, but this is the kind of a game, if they run their offense a few times back and forth, it's going to really present a problem as the game wears on for St. Peter's.
For Siena, this is a very low-scoring game. They averaged 87, and until yesterday, their lowest-scoring game of the year had been 71. They only scored 56 in beating Marist yesterday. There's Faison with a 2, so they've got 30 now to stretch the lead to 5.
Now, Faison's a talented guy. They get him in. Here's the press once again. They are struggling again. Nice shake and bake.
Freeney the steal. Gets it back from Stewart. Taylor wide open. Taylor again. Good work by Dale Taylor, a 6'9" freshman from Boston. Averages only 6 minutes per game.
Too many opportunities. It may be Rich Brown, number 3. I'm not sure. Yeah, number 3. The inability to screen off and come up with the long ones. Plenty of opportunities if you just don't get bodies on the shooter in particular.
And Holmes out of the game, having committed the 2 fouls early. He did come back in and is getting set to check in again. But Roger Blinn trying to be very careful with his big men not to make the foul trouble worse than it already is. Here comes Archibald and Knapp. This is like a Georgetown game. Every whistle, 3 new guys.
And if you look over there on the sideline, there are more suits for St. Peter's than there are players.
Yes.
I mean, there's, let's see, we start up here. Yeah, and you got Roger. You got 5 against 3 over there. Not easy. Not going too deep.
Ricky Bellinger's back in the game. He was the fellow who got poked in the eye inadvertently a couple of minutes ago. And Khalif Allen has played on a couple of occasions since suffering what appeared to be some kind of a back problem. But St. Peter's needs all hands on deck. There's a push on Isaiah Stewart that will send Bellinger to the line for a couple.
And Stewart, there's no reason for that. All he got to do is lead his guy. He had some support in the middle. A little nickel-dimer. Paul used to work at Southern Cal for George Raveling, Nick McCarchick at Fordham, Steve Lapis at Villanova. You think he was ready? A real classy guy.
Yep.
As you noted, a lot of interest in him.
His name popped up immediately when Ralph Willard announced that he was leaving Pittsburgh, although it now appears that Ben Howland of Northern Arizona might be the leading candidate. A couple of changes for St. Peter's. Playing a little offense-defense perhaps with Holmes as he and Spencer go out.
Yeah, trying to save him at least for the half. The nice thing about Paul, all he was concerned about when I saw him before the game, and this is minutes before he went into the locker room, about Curry Kittles, one of his old Villanova kids, played for Steve and himself. How was he doing? How's he playing? How's he feeling?
Into the final minute of the first half. St. Peter's down only 3 despite being a big underdog. Fields followed the shot. He knew it would be a miss, and then over the back goes Taylor.
Yeah, one of those giveaways, but that's what you got to do. Let him climb.
St. Peter's getting a chance to make it up at the line. A lot of fouls here for Siena in the first half, and the longer the Saints let the underdog hang around, the more St. Peter's will believe they can win it. They lost to Siena twice during the regular season, by 11 and by 12, so fairly competitive game.
Well, Bill Morant's the assistant, longtime assistant. Dad was a terrific coach at Livingston. Just talking about those games, the spurts, that's what's hurt them. Maybe a minute of falling asleep, they spread a little, and then you get back in the game, and the one spurt stood out in both games for them.
The difference in this one is it's a much lower scoring game, at least to this point, than either one of the 2 regular season games were. Not a lot going on at the line for either team, as Brown hits 1 of 2. Siena is the best free throw shooting team in the country for the 2nd year in a row at close to 80%.
Well, and why, Dan? The drills? How about
That's
the drills?
That's a great drill at the end of practice.
Yeah, they have everybody doing whatever they want while the shooter is trying to concentrate. Throw the balls up, walk in front, intimidate. Nice post move here. And that's what they can go to a little bit when they're struggling with the outside shot. Osinski using that power on the block.
And the foul committed by Keith Sellers, 6'5" sophomore. Just 6'5", 185. Osinski's got 40 pounds on him.
And you can see the little duck in the lane, get some good position, fake to the right, and then power up. Didn't quite elevate as much as he would like, but a physical presence on the block, and that wears on you.
88% from the line, Corey Osinski. As long as you and I have worked together.
You are a haunt. Hey, Dan, another sad omen for you. He's interested in broadcasting.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I saw him eyeing your seat.
Yeah.
He's got a little business to take care of.
Well, he's a player. I see him more in your seat.
Yeah, but he's a good student, and all play-by-play guys are erudite.
1 of 2 for Osinski. 3-point lead. Hunter gets it over. All things considered, Roger Blind has to be pretty happy with where he is right now. Some foul trouble early, a couple of minor injuries. And they've got a chance to perhaps tie it if they can get a 3-pointer in the final possession. The shot clock is off.
Well, they got to think, hang in, hang around, steal it.
The number 5 seed, St. Peter's, 14-14 on the year. The number 2 seed, Siena, 24-5 on the year. McQueen over the double team.
Power, and they just got to be alert for the long shot.
And that'll do it in the first half. Some would say a surprisingly close first half. Paul Hewitt and the Siena Saints up just a single point on the Cinderella of this conference. St. Peter's at the break, 31-30, low scoring, generally slower pace, the kind of game Roger Blind and the Peacocks wanted to have here tonight. We'll be back shortly with the second half, but first back to the studio. Let's join Larry Beal and Digger Phelps for everything going on around college hoop. Guys? I'll tell you, that's a sick bunch we got on the truck here tonight, isn't it?
St. Thomas would not be happy.
We apologize for
will never be the same.
Dan Shulman and Bill Raftery back with you in Buffalo for the championship game here in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference in a competitive first half. Generally a St. Peter's kind of a first half. They slowed it down.
Very much so. When you think of the 2 fouls for Holmes, only getting 10 minutes, the average is 31. Maybe indirectly a rest, which they're maybe badly in need of in the second half. 2
big factors here. Siena, A, they didn't get to the line, and they had 83 free throw attempts in 2 regular season games against St. Peter's. And B, when they got there, they didn't hit. Just 1 of 4 for a team that's best in the country in shooting free throws. I like the rebounding number here, 26 for St. Peter's. Kamal McQueen on his own had 8 rebounds, 6 of them at the offensive end, but the big guy just couldn't finish. If he finds his touch, St. Peter's has something going here.
They do, and 2 of 11 from 3 for Siena, and they shoot 37% for the year. If they don't go inside, it's going to help St. Peter's. I think they got to pound it in, and if there's a double, kick it out for some sort of a jumper.
A low-scoring game, especially by Siena standards, a team that averages better than 87 points per game. Jamar Hunter, well, what can you say about the tournament he's having now? Give him 63 points in 2.5 games, and Marcus Faison with 8 to lead Siena. Siena trying to become the 8th different school to win this tournament in the last 8 years. That's how wide open and competitive this conference tournament is year after year. St. Peter's last won it back in 1995. Kali Fallon picks up the foul as we are just underway in the second half. Another interesting note about this game, the same two schools met last night in the women's final with St. Peter's. Maybe this is an omen, Billy. St. Peter's 64, Siena 62. Marcus Faison misses the three, tipped back by Osinski. Holmes bounces it off the floor, and it comes free to Freeney, a fresh 35 for the Saints.
Good cross-court look. Faison with good numbers in the first half. Continues. 8 points. That makes it 10, 4 of 6 in the first half. So pretty good beginning. He's a solid player.
He is. Marcus Faison, a junior, averages better than 14 points, close to 6 rebounds per game, playing only 26 minutes.
Ooh. How about that elbow?
Yeah, Bellinger wanted the call, and they may have been fortunate not to get one on himself.
Nice step through.
But McQueen misses again. He's 3 of 10, and now he's got a long look at Mike Kidd saying, hey, where's the foul?
Kamal giving that little look askance there. He's been throwing the shot instead of shooting. A nice step through there, and I think it's the size difficulty.
Archbold for Osinski. Picks up by Paul Hewitt.
Oh, nice play. How about that tip to himself?
Anticipation and the finish, and a dozen for Faison, and a disastrous beginning to the second half for St. Peter's. Marcus Faison with 4 quick points.
Hey, Faison. Oh, what a wonderful pass to himself.
Roger Blitt, head coach of St. Peter's.
Chicago!
That's without Jordan, by the way.
Slip it, Jake, slip
The side pick and roll. See the slip, and Holmes doesn't face the ball. Pretty good play.
Converts.
Rebound!
We have some laryngitis by the end of the night.
Rebound!
He gets into it.
Freeney for 3. Holmes grabs the rebound away. 2-on-1. Bellinger has it blocked by Dieters, and they call a timeout. Second time tonight St. Peter's has gone for the lob, and they haven't been able to convert.
A nice hustle by the big guy, too. Dieters didn't give up on it. If they get fast breaks, it's essential they convert them. Get out and have some sort of an accomplishment. The lob doesn't seem to be working properly, the catch and finish, but you can see right here the hustle and the presence of mind. But down the road, you're going to need those if it's a close game. There's Bill Morantz on the right.
If they go zone again, run flat.
35-32 Siena.
Chicago. Big man, flip the screen. If they're zone, it's shoot or stay. Come on, you're okay, Rick.
Good communication skills, though. Name the play, how you want them to attack it.
Hey, somebody doing their homework. A little from the promo department. We've got the fans working on it now with Evansville and Creighton. Yes, they are coming up next. And then SportsCenter here on ESPN. Championship week continues with 4 more spots to be decided tonight. That'll bring the total up to 10 out of the 64. Bellinger baseline floats in. Rebound McQueen, and he got it.
Oh, is that pretty? I mean, he took up the whole weak side, Dan, and then used the rim to come up to the other side. He's a 3-second violation in waiting. Oh, he such a big figure on the other end, but he sets up and locks. Now, just look at this. Nobody's getting around them. The big frame, a little bit like Kent at Rutgers, don't you think?
Yeah.
That ability to take up position.
You know, I thought, and this may sound silly because he's bigger than Kent at Rutgers, and 270 might be flattering, but he's more agile. I mean, he does some really nice things out in the open court.
I spoke to a friend of mine, Gene Schatz, who helps Bobby Oliva at Christ the King, and I spoke to him today. He said he's not a good kid. He's a great kid. And Gene's not one to throw superlatives around. Just there's something special about him as an individual.
Nice recovery here by the Peacocks to tie the game. 3rd tie of the night.
And they got Osinski if they take advantage.
Well, this match.
Yeah, they sure do. But everybody, the spacing wasn't good.
Dieters, a tough bounce pass, turn it over. 3-on-2. Kali Fallon. And a block is called on Dieters.
And the right call, too. But that just was poor execution by Siena on the offensive end. Too many bodies around. The read, just smart play. Allen in fighting position, trying to just unbelievable ability to recognize and help. And that's well taught. The slide by here, and I like the call as well. Everything but on the finish. Little kiss, not rewarded.
Boy, for a team that lost its last 10 last year, first 5 this year, had a ton of injuries early, tied for last in the conference by the coaches preseason, to wind up now 14-14 and this close to a potential spot in the NCAA, a remarkable accomplishment.
What's that tell you about the coaching staff?
Yeah.
I mean, just to have guys believe in you, keep plugging. Eddie Ford, who's a columnist with the Jersey Journal down in Jersey, early on wasn't sure Roger was the right guy for the job, and now totally in support of what he's been able to accomplish.
Violation against Siena, getting into the lane early, and Allen, who hit the first and missed the second, will get another crack at it.
Because he's gotten maturity, too. He feels guys have grown up under him. Hunter in particular,
yep.
Bellinger, another guy.
Well, everybody back from last year, so they knew what the routine was. Allen makes good, and it's a 2-point lead for the underdog Peacocks on a 7-0 run. Their first lead since midway through the first half.
Well, they've negated the 3-point game, so that may help Siena. They got a little timeout. Paul not happy with the way they've been running the offense.
Been a struggle here for Siena tonight, with the exception of that 1 3-minute spurt really in the middle of the first half, when the game got turned up on high all of a sudden and St. Peter's couldn't keep up with the pace, and Siena took advantage. But other than that, and I ran into Joe Mahalik at halftime, he said, boys, this is St. Peter's kind of a game right now. Championship week rolls on with the AT&T Big East Conference Tournament on ESPN2. It'll be Seton Hall and Notre Dame going at it at 11 in the morning on a Wednesday afternoon. We'll have to give you a nice and early wake-up call for that one. And then later on, Georgetown and Providence at 7:30 Eastern Time. And into the Atlantic 10 for St. Joe's and LaSalle at 9:30 Eastern Time, all on ESPN2. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, Go.com.
I like to see them give Niagara a shot, though. Alvin Young didn't play at Laughlin at all. Outstanding performance. He didn't get a shot to play somebody down that New York area for Joe Mahalik, the head coach.
Brandon Fields back in. Here's Freeney. Starting point guard, missed half the season with heart problems as Archbold misses the three. It was later diagnosed as pericarditis, a viral infection. It appears that Freeney is okay. It's always scary when you start hearing things like that.
And it's a swelling, as they told both of us, and missing those 14 games. Coming back, he's so important to this team.
Tough shot by Bellinger. Offensive rebound by Holmes. And a tie-up.
And that should be a defensive. He had control, so it shouldn't be a change of possession.
And Mike Kitts and Art McDonald are talking it over to make sure they agree on the call.
There they go. Now this is one, if he kept his balance, he's got a layup because McQueen had taken away everybody. So no change of possession. Looking for another timeout, you think, down there?
With Siena causing it, Siena gets the ball back. Riero not a part of this one as Scott Knapp's back in the game. Conta Mesa very quiet in this tournament. Fields. And Siena continues to be cold.
They're hanging around, tightness maybe exhibiting itself by Siena. They got to play relaxed, get a comfort zone. Don't think about the magnitude of the game. Easy to say.
Pressure's all on them. They are the heavy favorite. They made it to the conference championship last year, lost to Iona, didn't get the NIT bid they were hoping for last year. Khalif Allen steps out, doesn't get the three, and Fields does a great job to keep Holmes away from the basketball. Freeney just runs into Holmes, no call.
And Freeney gives a look. You know, Holmes is one of those guys that fouls in layup drills. He doesn't mean it, hurts his own guys. That big body.
6'11", 270, and throwing it around. We got a close game. And despite the fact Siena is trailing by 2, it hasn't really doused the enthusiasm of their fans. Boy, they're dressing up for all kinds of stuff, huh? They know who's on what.
I didn't like the word douse because I think some of them have.
Well, it may not have been an accidental choice of word. They were here yesterday for the semifinals. Some busloads have come up from Albany. Tournament alternates between Albany and Buffalo. Tough move inside.
And not a bad move either because each section of the state, and they have loyal followings in both areas. But off the time, you can see Paul's design. Get it inside. Let's get back into this game, get a little bit of a control.
Number 3 on Holmes. That was a problem for St. Peter's in the first half. And Rich Brown's heading to the scorer's table. It may indeed be for Holmes as Marcus Faison goes to the line. High score in this game for the Saints.
And I'm sorry, Dan, Holmes had 10 minutes, and I'm thinking, well, if he can play a lot, he can play the whole run out there, but you can't if you go inside and create contact, and that's what's got him number 3. Coaching, huh?
That's right, never stops.
He was checking him out or stand up straight.
facing the only player for Siena to score here in the second half. As they finally snap a drought of about 3 minutes and 20 seconds without a point. Faison's got 13.
And what it does, Dan, it gives Paul the ability to coach a little. He's got his press set up 2-2-1, and that's been a problem on occasion for St. Peter's.
But the big guy McQueen really helps.
He does. But the little trap makes him give it up a little bit.
See how they do without Holmes in there. McQueen's going to try and eat up some space inside. They double immediately. Doesn't bother him, but he left it a little short.
And pretty good shot, though.
Have to remember, he's only 6'5". He's being guarded by taller players, although he's much bigger. Now Fields. McQueen just stood him up. It's still Siena ball.
You mentioned St. Peter's and the women. 25-5 as the young ladies check everything out here. Mike Grinelli, he's won 7 MAAC championships. This is going to be their 5th NCAA appearance. And the key players, Patty Marchese and Mercy Aguedo, first-team All-MAAC. Just a wonderful year, of course, alongside Mike Grinelli, Billy McKeever, one of the great, truly great basketball people. So the two of them have knocked them dead. Congratulations to everybody at St. Peter's.
Had a nice crowd here last night for the women's final. Baseline, a forced shot, another rebound from McQueen, who's been huge on the glass tonight. Now Brown wants to post up on Taylor down low. Been a quiet second half so far for Hunter by his standards.
This is the pace I think they've got to try a little bit, use the clock, but be running offense so you don't get stuck late in the clock.
Spencer had it knocked away. Still St. Peter's ball with 14 on the shot clock.
Plenty of time to do some damage. Get it in the right people's hands. Keep active off the basketball. The penetration, little strip at the end, and not alert on the lob here.
And Spencer makes them pay. The assist to Bellinger. St. Peter's by 3.
In high school, Essex County tournament champions at Irving. Spencer's club.
Face on. Now Archbold. Boy, he flies into the lane, and a block is called. Dwayne Archbold is a very promising looking freshman.
Yeah, everybody's raving about him. Played well versus St. Peter's in the past. I mean, it's just an outstanding defensive reaction. You can see they just don't get the body, and they swipe, and anybody goes by, they try and help their partner, but in the back, somebody's got to step up and present themselves.
Archbold averaging about 7 points per game. Made the MAAC all-rookie team. Had a huge game in the quarterfinal against Ryder with 22 points. The foul was on Rich Brown, his 4th. And remember, he just came into the game because Holmes had picked up his 3rd. But now, Roger Blunt with no choice but to put Holmes back.
Right in the middle like this guy.
Things are getting dicey in the front court for St. Peter's with still better than 14 minutes to play.
It's not a sprint.
That's right.
And that's what Siena has going. They've got to be relentless in their pressure, try and create some bad. Here's the fumble on the sideline. That's what they got to do. Be comfortable, too. I mean, it's easy to say relax. The continuing flow of substitutes sort of gnaws away at the psyche.
Corey Osinski back in for Marcus Faison. 13 turnovers, Billy, committed by St. Peter's to only 5 by Siena, so the pressure has had an impact. McQueen having to go very far out away from the basket because the big guys can shoot. Here's Contamesa.
Look at the man.
Finally buries one.
He's from a pretty good high school.
That's right. Comes out of Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, the same high school as Dante Calabria and Broadway Joe.
Ooh. And you know who his high school coach was?
No.
John Miller. Sean Miller's dad, and Archie Miller, who's at North Carolina State. And he played with Archie for a year.
Contamesa's 3 puts him
Nice
back
hands.
on top by 2. Siena ball, another turnover, the 14th committed by the Peacocks.
And that's the aspect of the game. You just can't get guys to get in the right spots, make the quick decisions, and there protect the basketball.
You get the feeling that if Siena could make another run, they could maybe break the spirit of St. Peter's, but they haven't been able to run away from them except for that one brief stretch in the first half.
St. Peter's traditionally does not break their spirit.
Yes.
I mean, they just hang tough. Where Raj really gets after it. You can see right there the drive baseline. You can have all the principles, but if you're being dragged away or you don't pay attention, you see the nice hold off in the lane. I mean,
nice
it's just not to mention just a little aspect of it. You say to you guys, get over there and help out. Well, coach, it's tough to get around the roadblock.
Back to the line again. It goes Archbold.
Matching up man to man. Tell him he's got to rip and go by his guy. All right? Yeah.
Got some thoughts for Khalif Allen is getting set to check back in for the Peacocks. 7 minutes into the second half.
Now, do you think that's for Bellinger or Hunter? I'd say Bellinger maybe with their rip, because he does feel he can get to the rim with anybody.
And it's for Spencer as he goes back to the true three-guard lineup.
Well, I meant the rip, though. You know, the ability to his information or his coaching aspect.
If Allen has passed the message along, he has done so telepathically.
Incommunicado. Well, that's good family relations then.
Boy, the pressure's really been stepped up here, but they break it this time.
Numbers.
Got to get a basket here at this end with a 4-on-1. Hunter the follow.
They are pesky. That should have been sealed and grabbed by Siena.
Back to a 1-point game. Archbold. Offensive rebound, Osinski.
And that's that guard matchup on him.
Freeney's foul.
They call it there. Okay, I thought they were going to call it underneath Osinski with Allen. But you can see the difficulty getting second opportunities because of the physical presence of Osinski.
Down at the other end, St. Peter's with another chance to run. They haven't had many, and finally they score, although they were fortunate.
Not a good read. There should have been a crossover dribble baseline, but the nice screen in the lane, and Bellinger didn't take advantage, but the good hustle got the deuce.
Knapp and Fields back in for the Saints, replacing Archbold and Taylor. And they just keep coming.
3 bigs and 2 littles.
Yep.
So it's always one up for Siena.
That's right. St. Peter's with 3 littles and 2 bigs usually out there. They just don't have that wing player, that extra third size guy they could put out there on the floor. Here comes Faison.
And now that's sort of a half big, half little. Yeah. As you can see physically, the demands on St. Peter's.
He's the 2 guard for Siena, and he's significantly bigger than the 3 guy, the small forward for St. Peter's.
He's been going to a lot of clinics lately. They call a timeout as they get stuck. Oh, no, something on the ball. Not a bad way to beat the pressure. Yeah. Paul Hewitt is furious. Oh, my goodness, and I don't blame him. Oh, Artie McDonald. Bring a towel, Artie. You got to wear those pants all month.
He's gotten pretty good at ignoring you, huh?
He ignored me when I was coaching.
Here's Hunter. Gets inside, and the finish, and the foul.
Oh, and he gets a little love in from the Peacock. Well, that's the defense. That's negligent there. The ability to get into the lane. Maybe this was the rip 'em that the coach was talking about. Nice fake crossover. Osinski caught a little bit too deep, and then wisely using just over the front of the rim.
Hunter, Billy, with 27 points in the quarterfinal win over Canisius, 26 yesterday in the semifinal win over Niagara, and 15 here tonight. A remarkable stretch.
And big games, and that's exactly what Roger said.
Yep.
He likes the stage.
Osinski. And he got fouled.
A little rattle kiss. Not a big O, at least Siena's version, as Corey gets into the lane and then wisely uses the glass. They had gone baseline earlier, and right now maybe fatigue part of the breakdown, but how about that for a double smooch? A little energy, and he takes the hit, and that's all weight room, folks. Most guys would come down with the ball intact. He's able to release it.
Osinski considered by many to be the most improved player in the MAAC this year, but again, inexplicably, Siena struggles at the line where they are #1 in the country at nearly 80%. They've had some trouble tonight. There's a TV timeout coming at the next break for St. Peter's, and that's probably good news. They do look a little winded. Collie Fallon and the gang will get a chance to rest for a minute or so. Siena leading by 2 in the championship game here at the MAAC tournament in Buffalo. Dan Schulman and Bill Raftery back into Buffalo. Good game. Siena by 2 with a spot on the NCAAs on the line. A Wednesday, more championship week action presented by 7-Up here on ESPN. A triple header out of the Big East beginning with Boston College and Syracuse. Then at 3:30 Eastern, Villanova. Fresh off that big win over St. John's, they take on the Mountaineers. Finally, a battle of the brothers Greer, Ricardo and Jeff, as Pittsburgh takes on Rutgers, all from Madison Square Garden Wednesday here on ESPN.
And Dan, you know how important that is for Rutgers. I think they got to get a couple.
They may have to do more than, you're right, more than just that one.
Yeah, they're a terrific team and just a little dry at the end.
Lost their last 4 heading into the postseason. Bellinger misses a 3. Ripped down by Archbold. Facing it back in for the Saints. Offensive foul, says Mike Kitts.
And just a little overzealous there on the penetration. Ricky showing he can do more than just fill it up at the other end. Bellinger in position. But right here, the pass sort of got him excited. Now he's in full flow. The step in and maybe a little slide, but pretty good anticipation. Something that's been lacking lately for St. Peter's. They haven't had that energy level on the defensive end. And Dan, as we both know, that's where it shows.
That's right.
He relaxed on that end.
Number 2 on a facing.
Osinski getting a little anxious there with Hunter trying to whack away the hands.
And Hunter getting the lecture from Mark McDonald. McQueen to inbound it.
And there's the defensive steal.
And timeout taken by the Saints. So Osinski with the steal. 20-second timeout for Paul Hewitt.
They got to score to get the press ready. I mean, that's been one of their biggest weapons. And Roger Blind has spent the morning getting ready for this, and you just can't snap that pass in a soft fashion. It's got to get a little, get up and go.
All right? You guys, after he cuts off, you split, come to the ball. All right? Come on, we need to stop. Head up, Al. Head up, Al. Win. 1, 2, 3.
As we said earlier, for these guys, this is it. They win, they're in the NCAAs. They lose, they go home at 14-14. No other shot at any kind of postseason possibilities. These are the Siena fans who believe that they will win after they got this far and then lost in the conference final last year to Iona.
Roger has a cute way with his kid, Mal, Leaf. It's a nice little rapport, a deep one. Again.
Wrong guy to leave open in Encanto Mesa.
Well, they'll be dining in Pennsylvania with a smile. If he can keep that up. Oh, the little Bill Bradley follow through at the end, and they just don't close that trap. Almost had another one.
Bellinger. Upset that he couldn't finish. Instead, he's going to shoot a couple.
Maybe Archbold. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think so.
And it is Archbold.
Anytime you press and you get the guy to turn into the middle of the floor, it's your top guy, and Paul very much aware of it, that doesn't hustle and close it down. That's one they could have had a steal if they hustled back.
Bellinger back to the line where he's a 75% shooter on the season. Back into the game, Isaiah Stewart and Melvin Freen. As Paul Hewitt to keep track of all these bodies that he's shuffling in every time.
I would like to be the Peters kids, though, saying, who do I have? Who's in?
Yeah.
They got to do the same thing.
You're right.
Put a little pressure on you in matchups. That's why you got to pay attention to the scouting report.
Especially when the matchups aren't obvious, because Siena's got so much more size than St. Peter's has. And for some of these guards, they're guarding bigger guys than they would guard for any other team.
So McQueen does a lot of little things. See him help to stop the one-man push.
Stewart, nice work by Bellinger. He's had a good defensive game.
Sure has. That's where they excel. Holmes getting, I'll tell you, that's a little post rub out. He may end up with the foul.
Turnaround jumper by Brandon Fields.
Boy, he does provide a lift on that box. Little turnaround jumper.
You know, he's not McQueen, but he's got a good low post behind, too, to create a little space for himself.
Ooh, trip. Freeney, I think. Fortunately, he's able to get up. That's another one of those, anything behind the back or crossover, they're unable to close and come up with the steal. Once he crossed over there, you can just see the little inadvertent tangling of the feet. And he is limping around too, Ricky.
Fields comes back out, facing as well. Number 3 on Freeney. Dieter's in. Scott Knapp's going to come in as well.
Ricky, it's on the sideline. He thought he was going to get the free throws for taking that knock. You got 1 to go.
That's right. 1 more before the Peacocks get into the bonus. Saints are already there with better than 10 minutes to play. And if it gets into a battle of free throws, you would have to favor Siena, a much better free throw shooting team than St. Peter's.
No double screen.
Rodney Rogers has returned for the Peacocks.
There's a little curl for Bellinger. He set it up like it was going to be a double.
Here comes Hunter. Nowhere to go.
Ooh, and you called it. That's one of those spin it back out. A reset. Had plenty of time.
Turnover's a big problem here for the Peacocks. In a sense, fortunate to be down only 5. What a difference.
Oh, well, unbelievable. Because to press a lot of that.
Contamesa again.
There's a little pratfall, too.
Collie Fallon knocked down, late getting back up and into the play. 4 on 5 for the moment. Now here's Allen.
Good recognition by Bellinger. Siena taking advantage. As you can see, nice little runner. Hunter filling it up. Good things happen when he touches it.
That's right. Both teams, Billy, have already used up all of their 20-second timeouts, getting trapped and trying to avoid falling out of bounds, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. You've got to use them later. Rogers gets caught up trying to play. They do a nice job moving you in. Relax a little.
Before you want to go with Rod.
That's with the assistants. I love it. Not that it's discord, but you got to have a little of that before you wanted this guy. We did it. It didn't work. You got to have a open mind as an assistant coach.
Bellinger out, just 1 of 12 from the floor. Siena number 1 in the country in free throws on the season, but tonight struggling.
This is so meaningful. That's part of it too. They get a lane violation. Oh goodness,
that's painful for St. Peter's.
It sure is.
Siena committed to one of those at the other end. Especially because in this situation it could mean a 2-point difference because it was the front end. Contamesa 84% on the year.
Boy, what a shame when you think of it. Yeah. Stepping in the lane. And it all boils down to free throws too in many of these tough games, and the advantage would swing to Siena if they could make them this evening. It also gets their press organized here.
Turns into a 2-point violation.
Look at this front. Everybody's front, leaving the inbounder alone.
Spinning is Hunter.
Now, they've done a nice job, St. Peter's now. They're not rushing if they beat the press. There's nothing there pulling it out.
Well, Spencer got his man thinking the wrong way, and then Archbold had to come back and foul him.
Inexperience there. He had help, but Devers in front.
Number 3 on Archbold. Spencer's going to the line.
This pick and rolls out to the high side. He disdains it as the slip occurs. And right here, the reach down. Just stay on the floor. You got plenty of help in the front. Good support.
Nice play by Spencer. 90% of the time, the guys use the screen, and you can really fool a defender when you go the opposite way.
And not that he's the first to do it, but Michael Jordan was one of the premier ones, right? Disdaining. And a lot of times he would slip between the pick and his own man.
Facing it back into the game. Archbold comes out with 3 fouls. Spencer misses the first free throw. He is just a 50% shooter on the season. And here comes Brandon Fields for Dieters. Kind of icing the shooter as well here by making all these subs between shots.
I honestly think John Thompson had that affinity too. A lot of people coming in and out, makes a guy think a little, takes him out of his rhythm as part of the technique.
Well, Spencer not close. 0 for 4 on the night.
This is a key little trip, I think. 5. Hey, Fields has been a tiger on the block. Maybe give him a little opportunity.
Stewart for Fields.
Too many guys there. tough that direct pass down the lane.
Freeney back in, Knapp out. I'll tell you, the hardest working guy in the building tonight, PA announcer.
Yeah, he's got his hands full. You know, they sold more programs when Siena played. You have to, just to identify.
Allen in some difficulty.
And they just don't get the rotation guy up. Here comes
Rogers filling the role of McQueen, who's been on the bench for a while. Still St. Peter's ball.
A great hustle by Stewart to recover. He's beaten in the open floor.
Here comes some fresh legs for St. Peter's. Bellinger got a brief rest. Kamal McQueen got a longer rest, and now he's back into the game.
Pretty solid, huh?
Yep.
One more.
20 points and 8 rebounds yesterday.
And, of course, somebody might say he's had a couple of double cheeseburgers, too, during the course of his life, too. So a couple of double-doubles here and there. Great attitude, wonderful feel for the game.
Bellinger. One field goal in 13 shots. Holmes misses the follow. And again, so many times down, whether it's been little chippies or free throws, St. Peter's has had chances and haven't been able to finish.
Tell you, not an easy look.
Hunter, 1-on-2.
Oh, he was the hunted there. He turned it in to his own little soiree, Jamar. I didn't think he had anything there, did you?
No. It looked like a poor decision at the time.
Yeah, he crosses over to the traffic, but comes up with a chance for three. And if anything, he should have gone to the right side. And a pretty easy call as well. Yeah, Jamar likes that pill in his hands when it counts.
The senior from Martin Luther King in New York City is clearly playing by far the best basketball of his career with 27 points, 26 points, and now 19 points in the 3 games of this tournament, averaging under 15 a game.
And Dan, it was 53-48. Faison ends up with a tough shot. Hunter counters with a three-point play. They're down by 2.
They get McQueen and Bellinger back in the game. Now Fields working on Holmes with a left hand, and what an answer by Brandon Fields.
So I think it's rather simple at this stage. Let him dominate. Let him get a touch. He has made selectively some terrific post-offensive moves. Here the hold off, the pass to the correct hand. And now just a little set him up baseline and away from traffic. Takes the hit and keeps on ticking. Well, that's one of the hidden arts, I think, in basketball. The ability to get it to the post. And this is even as rare, huh? The ability to shoot with either hand.
Back into the game, Rich Brown, who's got 4, replacing Jake Holmes, who leaves with his 4th. It's a bit of a high wire act right now for Roger Blind. Frustration as Holmes has not been able to play nearly as many minutes as he or his coach would like.
No. And then when they go inside, they're attracting people.
Spencer, the rebound of the Fields miss. They could use a couple of buckets from Bellinger. He has been off target from the field. Hunter really carrying the Peacocks tonight.
There's a little box set. Screen down, and then a diagonal to the box to get McQueen to the rim. Steps, yeah, moved them around.
Now the turnover committed by the Peacocks. They're piling up on them, but they are still in this game. Heavily favored Siena, leading by only 4 with 7:36 to play, second half. Back in a Buffalo championship game here in the MAAC. Siena leading St. Peter's by 4. The underdog Peacocks have one of the more unusual players in the conference, and Kamal McQueen, 6'5" and all of 270. But look at the agility and the hustle on the big man from yesterday's semi against Niagara.
That's beautiful, isn't it? Well, you play at Christ the King, you got to do all these things to stay alive. They get some minutes. How about this one, huh? Take the hit. He didn't even feel that, huh? Get out of my way. Like flicking away.
His numbers from yesterday, and he's having a very good night again tonight. 9 points and 10 rebounds in this game. And St. Peter's needs it all and more right now, down 4.
And Dan, this gets into that stop category. The danger zone. They're trying to establish Fields, and they got McQueen on him down there.
Knapp for 3.
Oh, boy, did they set him up. All the bodies looking for the low post action. Knapp on this one, too. not ready to stop it. Pretty good move by Roger Blinn. He put McQueen down on the block to make sure Fields couldn't do anything. But when you help out or over help out, just look who's looming there. Knapp with a little nylon from deep.
They have so many options from out there as Knapp gives Siena its largest lead of the night at 7.
Shoots it the same each time whenever you look at tape. Good trajectory, nice rotation.
Bellinger to the line. Dieter's back in for Conta Mesa. The Saints last made it to the NCAA tournament in 1989 out of the North Atlantic Conference, a year before they joined the Metro Atlantic. They don't want to take any chances at 24-5. If they lose this game, would they get an at-large bid? There's a touch foul on Hunter. Their RPI right now, we are told by their sports information department, Michael Hogan supplying us with this information, is 39. Now RPI is not the be-all and the end-all, but 39, that's right there in bubble territory.
Well, you set that up like you don't believe Hogan. Yeah, I think it's part of the evaluation system,
sure,
but it's a matter of a lot of other things. The strength of your league, the strength of the league over the past few years.
Conference has an RPI of 13. Roger Blinn knows that his team, it's do or die, to use a cliche. For Siena this year, they have defeated George Washington, Eastern Michigan, Pepperdine, St. Bonaventure, so some pretty decent wins outside the conference.
And that GW wants to jump into everybody's crawl a little bit.
Back to a 7-point advantage. Under 7 minutes to play. The foul goes against Bellinger.
And he lifted the arm, and that's what they do, though, Siena. I think they're good at upping your pulse, getting a little bit excited. Here's the turn, and you can just see right there, and I like the call. I mean, I know Rick's a little upset with it, but that's because of the philosophy of the mentor over there. Paul Hewitt likes to uptick. 7. Concern.
Bellinger closes out on Hurry, but Osinski on a beautiful feed from Scott Knapp to extend the lead to 9.
And then you can see what dribbling does. The attention taken by the defense and then the slippage in the back.
Legs just a little bit fresher for Siena right now. St. Peter's has come from behind in each of the first 2 games in this tournament. Down to both Canisius and Niagara, but they've got an uphill battle to say the least right here. Rainey with a great hesitation.
Peter's very active in there, couldn't finish.
Nice outlet. Here's Hunter, 2-on-2. He's got Spencer. And Hunter forced.
And even there, the legs, somewhat lacking. Timeout.
That'll have to be a full.
Yeah, full one.
Siena's already used all of their 20, so they will be down to just 1 full timeout. But their fans giving them a standing ovation as they begin to pull away. Knapp the penetration, Osinski the finish, 9-point lead for the Saints. And Larry, just over 6 minutes to play here in Buffalo. By and large, Siena fans here at the Marina Midland Arena and having a good time. Yeah, they do expect postseason for the Siena Saints, and after a 24-5 season to this point, why not? Finally, Siena has been able to pull away a little bit. They've hit some outside shots, and St. Peter's looking like they're a little bit run down right now.
And now trying to extend the floor. You don't have many choices. That should fatigue them a little bit more, Dan. I'd pound inside.
Mesa steps out. And a steal by McQueen.
So important to protect the ball out there. He's generally pretty good with it, Jim.
They have answered so many challenges in the first couple of days of this tournament. They won last burst in the Peacocks. Another turnover. That's been as big a problem as anything in this game. 19 turnovers committed by St. Peter's.
Little double screen there. Little stagger. Corner and then on the box.
Rainey baseline. You know, he's not fancy, but he gets it done.
So does he. Oh. Wow. What a stroke, huh? You think Knapp's is pretty? attractive as well.
That's the guy we told you about last year, led the country in three-point shooting at 56%. And a timeout called by the Peacocks with exactly 5 minutes to play. What can they do to stem the tide? A 12-point lead, largest of the night for the Siena Saints, finally getting hot from the perimeter. Mesa with another three. Roger Blinn trying to rally the troops one more time in the St. Peter's huddle right now. Siena on a 16-7 run in the last 6 minutes and change to take their largest lead of the night. Yeah, it would be just the second trip to the NCAA tournament for Siena, their first in 10 years if they go on to win this game. And what a difference for them, three-point shooting. And Mesa and Knapp really heating up in the second half.
And Roger in that timeout saying make more passes. Be a little more patient. Feels they're rushing things on the offensive end.
Holmes around and out. And Siena controls. Got a decent look, maybe not from option number one. It just wouldn't drop. Basin loses it, and St. Peter's comes back. They won't go quietly.
Yeah, a couple of mistakes by Siena.
Bellinger, what a rough night he has had from the field. This is his game. He's not really a shooter. He likes to drive, get into the lane, make things happen. They're just not dropping.
A slasher, at least in my neighborhood. I don't know about yours, but he does like to get into that 3-second lane. We mentioned earlier how quick he is to the rim, but right now part of that difficulty is fatigue. Just the little extra oomph or the little polish you need is lacking.
Fields really doing a nice job too on McQueen. Usually McQueen can just create his own space, but Fields won't let him.
And they're helping out as well down there defensively. Very sharp.
Now finally he gets the touch, and again, once he catches the ball down there, you can forget it. The idea is they got to find a way to get him the ball down there.
Faison involved in there as Raj continues to boost their spirits and get them in position to dominate. You mentioned the jumper was a good one. How about this little duck in? That's more than a duck in, that's a truck in that 3-second lane. Catch and finish.
Faison comes out. Knapp back in for the Saints. Under 4 minutes to play, a 10-point a game. Other than Bellinger, nobody getting it done at the line for the Peacocks. 9-point game, 3:55 to go. What a problem, too, when you're trying to play catch-up on a team that shoots free throws better than any team in the country. There aren't many options in the foul.
You're right. And then look at this good open look off the screen. Almost a save by Knapp. I'm just thinking of the two-point guard mentality out there with Freeney and Knapp. Two guys who can handle. I don't know if you wanted that one that quickly.
St. Peter's, which is more of a deliberate offensive team, they need to hurry up a little bit.
And then they get a little side. Look at this guy present himself. Oh, nice left by Holmes as well. Just a little screen away and open and catch.
McQueen set the screen for Hunter to come free, and everybody concentrated on Hunter. It just took a split second for McQueen to find room.
What a tribute to these guys. I mean, they just don't go away. They refuse, and Paul knows they're coming and knocking at his door again. Oh, not easy.
Last time out for the Saints, full 20 or otherwise, with 3:11 to play, and St. Peter's has cut the lead down to 7, trying to make one last run at the Saints. And Championship Week, Larry, presented by 7-Up continuing, and this has been a fairly close game throughout. Siena got it to 12 a couple of minutes ago, but Kamal McQueen, 6'5" and 270 plus, has answered with back-to-back baskets.
I wish my professor would put his balloons away over there, but they found some answers on the offensive end. And now the counter by Siena, the timeout. You might look for touches down low. Fields back in the game. They got to get to the foul line. Now that's one of their strong suits. Dribble drive or post hold. And they got Fields with McQueen, a load. Now 3, what a killer. So much for the inside game, huh? Not time.
fifth three-pointer of the second half for the Saints as Faison comes back in. Freeney's going to go out, but Knapp and Akantamesa really firing dagger after dagger at the Peacocks.
Well, it's Knapp's time, but it might put the Peacocks to rest. I mean, that's just amazing. Everybody concentrate inside. You can see the grit and vigor.
The lead back to 10 under 3 minutes to play. Bellinger gets inside and one will drop.
And they will not go away. God bless them. Good back cut here. Again, the denial. You know you got to stop.
These are some pretty fundamentally sound players.
They sure are. Well, they're well coached. We knew that coming in. Size, talent, depth. That's why it's so impressive that St. Peter's could hang in touch. Here they get another good look here if they were able to handle the dribble. Look at Akantamesa always hedging to help out.
Here's Bellinger using a lot of time. Just trying to slice his way in. Akantamesa the block. McClean. Oh, boy.
How about him being able to squeeze through anything?
Wow.
Oh,
he is fun to watch.
He is. He just keeps maneuvering those feet. Got a good nose for the basketball.
Freeney back. You think about some of the lost opportunities, the turnovers, the missed free throws, or St. Peter's could be even closer.
He must have unbelievable strength. And just to catch and gather. And this is out of the Princeton page, huh? Or book, I should say. Nice little step and go and find the cutter. Fields is giving them some lift in this second half, too.
McQueen, a huge night, but is it enough? With Siena leading by 7. Just over 2 minutes to play. The Saints hoping to advance to the NCAA tournament for only the second time in school history and the first time in 10 years.
Do you notice how quickly they're sprinting now, Siena? Nice hand in there, but they get the call for it. Allen, and boy, they really do a nice job controlling their emotions, too.
Two shots the rest of the way for both teams with just 1 minute and 48 to play. I don't know that it's been a masterpiece for either team, really, but it's been an outstanding effort on the part of both schools.
Well, a game of this magnitude, you're going to see some slippage because of the intensity. What's at stake?
And for St. Peter's, 3 seniors who may be playing their last game, and Jake Holmes, Jamar Hunter, and Rich Brown. Here's Osinski back for the Saints. You know, if Siena goes on to win, and they're up 8 now with an RPI of 39 and a 25-win season and wins over GW and so on and so forth, they might get a pretty good seed. Iona was a 12 last year out of this conference. That sounds about right.
Yeah, you might be right. Well, they will not be at the bottom of the rung at all.
They're not looking at deep. St. Peter's, on the other hand, if they can somehow pull it out, that's probably where they would be as a 16. But Siena is full value for what they've accomplished this year.
Trying to score quickly, so they get it right for the correct individual, huh?
Earlier on, when they went many minutes without finding him inside, was it an inability to, or were they just not looking for it?
Probably a combo. Don't you think? It's never one thing. Plus good defense, too. I mean, the little slippage now where they're trying to make sure they cover a lot of areas, help on the weak side. Not a good foul here. And Freeney 80% to boot.
Well, as we said earlier, not many options when you're going to foul somebody on Siena. Freeney's at 80, Osinski 88, Akantamesa 84, Fields 77.
Tonight it's been a struggle for them, but you can see they're out of the gate already.
We're going to send you to the Kiel Center for the Missouri Valley Championship, which is already underway. 5-0 score, as you saw. 1 minute and 16 left here, and Siena inching closer toward an automatic bid into the NCAA tournament. Nice to see Freeney, who missed 14 games with the heart condition earlier in the game, given a clean bill of health and able to play it out here. Archbold's back.
And Dan, you got to think of the ability to turn St. Peter's over as one of the important aspects of this game. Good after him defensively causing problems.
Holly Fallon speeding back the other way, too strong off the glass.
Heads-up play here. They can sense it and feel it in Albany.
Last year got as far as the championship game, beaten by Iona. It looks like the Saints are heading on to bigger and better things here in Buffalo.
The Saints are marching in,
That's right. As you look at dark horses in the NCAA, the small mid-conference teams capable of pulling off the upset.
Jumps out.
Yep.
Right?
Do these guys fit the mold? Do you like them?
I said to a couple of their followers today that they're a team as an underdog that is tougher. If they're in a position where they're playing somebody who's ahead of them, I think they can step their game up. I think it's the kind of a game where they're leading or somebody's a little less than, and maybe the emotion isn't there that Paul Ewart would like all the time.
McQueen gets it over, but time running out on the St. Peter's Peacocks, who put up a great effort tonight. Hunter misses. Still loose. They're still working hard. A Siena win tonight also may improve Niagara's chances of getting an NIT bid. And now the Siena fans sensing it, rising to their feet.
See, that one I think Melvin Freeney should have given up. They're going to use some more time. But you may be right about Niagara.
Here's 43 seconds away, and probably these guys trying to find out where they'll be, what regional will they be in, and can they make the trip. They've been here all weekend for the men's and women's tournaments.
They probably had to write home for a few dollars, too.
Ricky Bellinger commits the foul. That is his fifth. The junior from Charleston, South Carolina, has to leave the game.
And Dan, St. Peter's you got to think of as a half a loaf. The ladies team doing so well, and the courage of this team, the men's team. And no one expected it. No one expected them to have this kind of a year, turn it around, end up 500 and get to the final of their conference. I don't think that's going to happen either.
No, not first round. Courageous effort by Roger Blind and the Peacocks. Freeney back to the line for the Saints. Don't forget Creighton and Evansville coming up immediately following the conclusion of this game. We're going to send you to the Kiel Center in St. Louis for the championship game of the Missouri Valley Conference as championship week continues.
I mentioned Freeney should have good enough to run the time. He knows that he can make the free throws, too. He's figuring, let me handle the end.
Conley hits them both. Creighton up 5 early on the Purple Aces. Joel Myers, Larry Connolly standing by. Out of bounds. Back over to Siena.
Now that's the kind of play you like to see. Everybody down, getting a little bit dirty. And play you still subbing.
Fire.
The kind of a game that produced very clean play. That time a little bit of a fumble and activity. Nap in the game for obvious reasons. Not the kind of a turnover you need right now.
Steal by Hunter and a timeout called by the Peacocks. Their final timeout with just 25.6 seconds to play. Still an 11-point game. And the frustration now setting in on the St. Peter's players who rode this one about as far as they could, but ran into a deeper team tonight in Siena. 25 seconds away from advancing to the field of 64. And Larry, just 25 seconds to play with Siena leading St. Peter's by 11. It was a 1-point game in the half. At the half, but in the end, too many bodies. And finally, the three-point shooting that we expected to see in the first half came through for Siena in the second half with Conta Mesa and Knapp, the biggest reasons why Paul Hewitt is going to lead the Saints into the NCAA tournament.
More strategic three-point shooting, didn't you think?
Yeah.
I think it was wholesale the first 5-6 minutes of the game where just in a reckless fashion came down, jacked it up, and in a sense got themselves out of their sync.
Freeney with a nice night, 10 points, 5 assists as he heads to the line.
Okay, they're not going away this St. Peter's. He's doing everything he can to extend the game. Need the quickie.
Hunter short. And again, they continue to foul as Holmes wraps up Archbold, and I believe that is going to be all for Jake Holmes.
And Jake didn't get the necessary minutes to provide the necessary inside game for Roger.
Senior out of Toledo sees his collegiate career come to an end. No matter how inevitable the loss may be right now, I think for a player, when he realizes that's it, it's done.
Oh,
taking off this uniform, that's a tough moment.
Oh, you said it like it's happened to you. It is heartbreaking. You can almost see the expression on Roger Blynn's face.
Evansville getting back into it, back within 2 in St. Louis. That's our next game here on ESPN, Missouri Valley Championship. 2 shots for Dwayne Archbold.
Man, you mentioned the emotion, the seniors, and what it means. Just so disappointed over there. Jamar Hunter devastated, goes all the way to the end of the bench.
He's just a junior, but he will continue to play, but he walked by his coach and his teammates who were looking to congratulate him on a miraculous tournament. He still might be the most valuable player in the tournament, even though St. Peter's doesn't win it. But you're right, he just took off right by them and is out of sight down at the end of the bench.
And the mascot actually sympathizing with him down the end.
Now the crowd starting to give it to the Peacocks, who are continuing to foul. There's the championship trophy. And we told you how wide open this conference has been. It's looking like it'll be another new champion here this year on top of the last 6 years, because Siena has never won the conference tournament. Paul Hewitt's done an outstanding job here in his first 2 seasons. Piling up the points here down the end. Now some of the extra bodies getting a chance to get in there. Brian Scalzo, 5'9" sophomore from Albany. Walk-on gets on the floor. Rodney Rogers misses a 3. Scalzo's got his hands on the ball. He's going to wrap it up, probably hoping for the foul so he can get to the line, but that'll do it. The Siena Saints defeat the St. Peter's Peacocks 82-67 and win the championship of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Paul Hewitt's team is heading to the NCAA for just the 2nd time ever, the first time as MAAC champions. For the St. Peter's Peacocks, a courageous performance, but just not enough bodies to get it done as Siena wore them down in the second half. Final score, Siena 82, St. Peter's 67. For Bill Raftery, I'm Dan Shulman. Thanks for watching from Buffalo. The Saints, your champs. Now let's go to the Missouri Valley Championship in St. Louis. Joel Myers and Larry Conway, guys.